fucking sets that thing off. Pardon me. Okay, I do have to be careful here because I should probably pump this water out. I don't understand why they're not working on this. Oh, that's why. Wait, then how do they do this? Eh? Yeah. But I'm honestly kind of disappointed with certain games now with the 1.0s. I don't trust that anymore. Because there's so many games now that's said like, oh, full release 1.0 and the game's not done. Like, I totally understand like having your game finished and then wanting to add more after 1.0, totally fine. But having like the base game not being done, like not having an ending, um, or just like huge chunks of the game missing. Like I really wanted to play that Cove. Is it Cove? There's some farming game that looks really good, but there's apparently no ending. Small Land, I think actually has an ending, but it has some like apparently some pretty crucial things that they say they're gonna add, but they've already done 1.0. Do. You know whatever happened to releasing fully finished games from the start? I agree. That are bug free. I honestly don't mind. I don't mind early access, but sometimes there's some games that do early access definitely right, and there's a lot of games that don't do it right and do it completely very wrong. I'm trying to remember what game it was. I think it was I want to say it was Subnautica that say had they not done an early access, the game was going to be very different, and they're very thankful they did a early access because it really kind of was like, oh shit, what we thought was a good idea was a terrible idea, and they were going to invest a lot of money and time into what they thought would have been fun. But that's also a double-edged sword because someone might have a really good idea, but because it's not quite finished, it may seem like a bad idea, and then people are going to go like, don't do that. Hmm. Early access really opens up the options for indie developers to make the best possible games. Unfortunately, also allows them to use with that if they really want to. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think crafting games right now is pretty. It's apparently very easy to abuse, which I've seen. I'm checking the survival games every other day. Cause like I don't get me wrong, I'm very excited about crafting survival games being released, but I think some people just like see a crafting survival game. It doesn't really matter how good it is. They're like, you have to play this. This is gonna be great. But it's a lot of like with Unreal Engine, with the Unreal Engine and being able to just buy assets, you can just basically create a fake game. I actually used to be like, oh, me too, me too. I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm like fucking big brain. I know what game's gonna suck and what game's gonna be good. I've definitely kind of fallen. I don't know if I've actually fallen too far a victim in it. I think I have a couple. I think on my Steam list I bought, and then I either just waited on it, thinking it would be better, and then nothing ever happened. I think I have one that was good, but it got abandoned. Pardon me. Dark and Light. Oh, wait. Is that the one that I was looking at too? I think this is one I was looking at for a while. Did you actually buy it? Yeah, I know which one you're talking. Yeah, yeah. I remember this. I didn't buy it though. And that's the thing with like crafting and surviving. If survival, like sometimes if you watch like a trailer or whatnot, it's sometimes really hard to tell if it's gonna be good because it just showed like the guy mining rocks, hitting a tree, and then like some vast wildlife, and then with them fighting two enemies, and then that could be literally the entire game. Because at the same time, survival games are generally speaking pretty. Um, I don't know. In a way, it's their casual games. Like as much as I like to turn up the difficulty, a lot of the times you're doing very casual stuff like chopping trees and that kind of stuff. But there is like that time management and the huge payoff if like shit actually happens. I had at the time there were others, but that was my final try. I actually still feel burned by Ark. Yeah. Even like again, I'm not trying to like shit on games, but even what was the one that we were just looking at? Yeah, Myth of Empires. That could be end up being a good one, but it's very hard to get like a good grasp on like reviews because even if it's mixed, it's like you don't know if it's like just like connectivity issues or like honestly when it comes to survival games it could be anything, but at the same time like you can kind of just have chopping and building, and a lot of people will buy it for that. It doesn't have to have that much into the game. Like I think Icarus is a very good example of that. Like it has a very vast amount of building, a lot of grinding, open world, but there isn't really anything like um, there's no umph in anything that you're really doing. Despite me playing like hundreds of hours of it. You have like 4K hours in Ark. Yeah, But like that's what I mean. Like, would you? It's very like, and again, this is not me shitting on anybody. I'm a huge sucker for survival games, but I guarantee you, there are many. Out of those 4,000 hours, there's probably like a lot of downtime, right? There's not like a lot of parts where that's just. It's kind of like you're just turn your brain off, doing some kind of stuff. Maybe have something off in the background, grinding, taming. I think the only difference though is Ark actually has a story, right? And you can have some pretty epic battles and like raids and stuff like that. So at least you have like something to build towards. So you may put in like 20 hours of grinding, but you will have at least that like this was worth it moment. I did some browser services stuff was crazy, yeah. But like for Icarus, for me, like as much as I put a lot of 100 hours, eventually it was like I love the leveling up. I love the blueprint system. I love the character focus on like upgrades and stuff like that. So that's kind of like my carrot on a stick. But then you at one point you realize there's nothing to do with any of it. There was enough to help you build those characters and stuff, but I feel like it kind of just falls flat. There is no story. Well, there is, but you're not really doing anything in it. And yet, I would still not call it a bad game as much as I shit on it. I'd still recommend it to people, but I would even say like, yeah, I don't know. The Arc 2 chat doesn't mean I still don't feel burned by it. Regarding they didn't release paid DLC while the game was still in early access. Yeah, I heard about that. They were involved with Darklight, Student Wildcard. I don't feel so I'll give my money anymore. Yeah. I'd even argue like even like this kind of game, like as much as like I enjoy playing it, I think personally I think there's a little bit too much downtime. I think there is a slight pacing issue, more so by difficulty. So like the beginning of the game is definitely my favorite, where it's like pretty intense of trying to like keep your shit alive, but at a certain point it's like it just takes a long time for things to work. Which could also be my inability to play the game very well too. That could be part of it. But even I felt like when I was playing the game back then, and I had a lot of hours in it, and I felt like I could do things pretty quickly. It still felt slow. I think actually one of the big things is I may not have been burned, but I think also knowing my friends have been burned with a lot of like crafting survival games like Atlas. That was a big one. Last Oasis, that was a big one. And Atlas almost got me. It looks so good. He got you, yeah. It looks so good. And all my friends were so hyped. And they all bought it and they all played it and they all had a fucking great ass time. And I'm like, there's no way. This is gonna die in 2 weeks. Because you get that honey. You get that honey, the honeymoon. Where it's just a new world. And it feels good to be a new world. And then eventually you realize there's an edge very quick. And the thing is, I do feel like I missed out for 2 weeks because they did have fun for about 2 weeks. And it was the same thing with Last Oasis. They had an absolute blast for about 2 weeks. But when you have those big massive online things, it's very tough because then it depends if you want to get into the guild life, which sometimes becomes a necessity. If you're a smaller group, you're just gonna get fucked for resources because the bigger clans are gonna take it. It was really fun until they made it all about group play. Yeah, like I don't know enough people to do that. Yes, being so is a game, but they added the ability to hire crew now. Oh, okay. Is that game still running then? Oh, what? I thought it was abandoned. Oh, at least they're At least they're still going up with it. Has it improved quite a bit? It was really fun to set us with a while, but we couldn't really run anything more than a schooner. Yeah. Huh, if they keep adding to it, maybe it's something worth checking out. They had subs and stuff and a new map. If you ever want to go in and make a crew, cows, we can combine forces. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe with a wild, but I don't know if I could feel comfortable with you, really. Wild seems chill. You seem a little unhinged. Plus, I don't know, like, I feel like... I don't know if you really know what real fishing is, right? Like, you don't like fishing in Stardew Valley, so I don't know. I don't trust your opinion very much. Yeah. Let's see here. I was being very nice to Wild. I don't know what you're talking about. I was being very friendly. Was I being mean to someone else? I don't know. How do I want to do that? Whoop. Um. I think hijinks needs some aloe. Yeah, yeah, I think definitely. I think a cactus would be better in that case. It's pretty funny. So my old manager had a cactus growing in his office this whole time, and I'm like, how can we like? He's like, I'm like, oh, you got a cactus? You like plants or whatever? He's like, yeah, it's the only one that doesn't die. He barely has to water it. So we have a new manager now, and he left his cactus in the office. So I'm like, oh, you gonna keep that around? And he's like, no, I'll probably throw it out. I'm like, oh, I can't believe he left it. He loves he loves that thing. He says the only thing he can do is keep it. The only plant he's ever had that he can keep it alive. He goes, what? He's like, no, it's dead. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's completely dried out, and it's basically like permanently like that. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's probably been dead for a long time. He's like, I asked my wife, who's like very into plants, and she's like, yeah, no, that cactus is dead. I'm like, so he's been watering a dead plant? He goes, I don't even know if he's been watering it. Um, don't think we really need that anymore. Does that drop all the logs? Yes, it does. There we go. Put that there. I feel bad though. I'm like looking after my neighbor's plants right now. They're like all dead. But in my defense, she's like, so she's like, hey, just in case something happens, that's my fire alarm. It's not yours. Um, she's like, just in case something happens or they need to get into my building, I'm gonna give you my key. I'm like, yeah, no worries. So she goes on her trip, and then she messages me like the next day. Oh, by the way, can you water my plants? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it'll save her boyfriend from having to like drive all the way there, I guess, to water them every once in a while. I'm like, how often do it? She's like, oh, every once a week, every 2 weeks. It's like, yeah, so you can water it sometime next week. She's like, if they die, they die. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know. I've never had a lot of plants that you only have to water once a week, but I went in there. She's like, yeah, I already watered them, so we just go in there next week. I go there next week. I go there a week later. They're like already half dead. I'm like, on top of that, they're not really in the sun. So I've been following the instructions once a week. At this point, I'm just watering a bowl with dirt in it. Every 2 weeks. I feel like it's one of those things where you feel like you're only doing it once every 2 weeks, but you're actually doing it more often because they're there. Need these guys to build. Yeah, I feel like, well, she said that she's had them for a while, so I'm like, whoops. If it's a cactus or a succulent, Queen Biscuit, I don't know what the fuck a succulent is. I just know what they are in like crafting games. I just know they're a plant. How often do you have to water them? Um, once a month? Ooh, that's my kind of plant. No, not. Oh, you know what? I think one of these. One of these. I think it's a burrow's tail. I think one of those is a. Yeah, it's the only one that's alive for sure. Oh wait, maybe not. These look pretty long. Hers could be brand new though. And no cactuses. Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely dead. But at the same time, maybe it's weather dependent too. It's colder. There's some things that die and then they come back to life in the spring and summer. So maybe they're on their maybe they're on their redemption period right now. Okay. Keep on building, you guys. We got work to do. What are these guys working on? All the times, despite my neglect, I don't know how it survives. Interesting. Maybe music. Maybe I should start playing the music. Oh, you got stuck. I might actually. And build, damn. Is there a bird's eye pepper plant? I really wish I understood more about plants and gardening. I've always wanted my own. It's interesting how many people love gardening. I think it's boring as fuck. But so many friends talk about plants and they've all got plants. Share stories, they'll grab to see something in the wild, they're like, oh, I want that. I mean, I'm more excited about growing my own produce. Even that, like, I remember being excited when we used to get like produce when we grew it ourselves, but I'm like, I don't know, do I really care? I feel like that's just more responsibility. They'll probably die anyways. I feel like growing my own plants doesn't give me enough experience. I need different ways to farm XP, you know? Come on, beavers, we need... Oh, bad tide? We need we need to get everybody into water collecting mode. Unpause you. Actually, do I need that? What's he doing now? There we go. Go with stuff, but where I live, homeless, all the homeless was raided. I could see that. I'm really happy if they can case to plant something. I had bamboo plant once. It died. I don't know if y'all noticed, but it was marketed as unkillable. Yeah, yeah. I remember we had some in our backyard. That shit would grow pretty nuts. Like, my god, that plant would grow so fast. Oh, we don't need you running anymore. Don't need you running anymore. Get all the water running. Two days.